Hi everyone, it's Derek from the iReady podcast, and this is my reaction to the one each draw with Motherwell today in the Premiership. It was inevitable that we were going to drop points at some point. It could have been worse today. It certainly could have been, given the lack of clear-cut chances we had. I think it's one thing that we need to all do, including myself, is our callousness from yesterday after the Celtic result, is we need to keep it in check for just now, because it's still proof that the league is certainly not over. We've got to keep on playing the way we all know we can play and ignore what's happening on the other side of the city, because we need to do the job at our end first, regardless of what happens. But I'm not going to be too down on the players because, as I said, it was inevitable we're going to drop points. Obviously disappointing the way it's happened today, and given the fact that Motherwell were sitting bottom of the table as well and they're playing the top of the table. So I just hope that the players and the team learn from that, because there's certainly a number of learning points that can come from this game. It was an unchanged side from the team that beat Aberdeen 7 days ago. The game itself, it started off brightly. Both teams were playing at a high tempo. It was fairly open, and then it became scrappy, and then we turned off at the back. We had plenty of possession. We were slow and lethargic with it, though. The final ball was absolutely atrocious, which continued throughout the game. Morelos was doing well using his strength, but the front line were not linking with the midfield enough, and you can have as much possession as you want, and if you don't do nothing with it, then what's the point? Motherwell in the opening stages, they certainly showed that they had something about them. Quick breaks up the park, and they had one chance where it was a free header and right at McGregor. They had another chance as well. And then we went one down on the 20th minute. It was a throw-in from the right side near the halfway line by Motherwell. It was worked to the left side. It was passed about. Nobody putting a challenge in at all. The ball was crossed across the goal from the left, and the Motherwell attacker slid in and put it into the back of the net. Another really poor defensive display there, just backing off, not making the challenge, just go straight for it. I think some of the defenders were too scared of putting a challenge in, and the few goals that we've lost this year have all been fairly similar, just poor defensively and unwilling to put a challenge in. Cut it out from source, and then that stops the goal happening initially. Up until that point, Motherwell certainly were playing fairly openly. They were going forward. They weren't playing a 5-5-0 like they were in the previous game a couple of weeks ago. But after the goal, they went into complete defensive mode where they just sat everybody back behind the ball. Again, it wasn't a 5-5-0, but they were just playing so negatively, so defensively, which is understandable. That's their prerogative, and it's our job to break them down. And we never really done that. We had a header cleared off the line from Goldson, I think it was, in the first half. That was as close as we came, but as I said, the final ball was poor. We were just doing the same thing time and time again, expecting something different to happen. We're being very pedestrian. I looked at Twitter at half time, and it was quite something to look at the comments. You know, you were getting people saying it was a great performance so far, just unlucky, and you were saying people that it was a poor performance. I'm of the opinion it was a fairly poor performance, and it just goes to show you put two Rangers fans in a conversation, you get three different opinions. So, went to half time, needed something a wee bit better, and certainly we did push up and we did play a lot better in the second half. But the same issues were still arisen. We were largely camped out in the Motherwell half. However, we were just doing the same thing time and time again. The same type of cross balls. No inventiveness whatsoever. And then the final ball was really poor as well. There was just a lack of cohesion there. A lack of accuracy. And a lack of cutting edge. And we were expecting to do the same thing time and time again. Changing point of the game, arguably for our point of view, is Hadji came off and Itten came on. Certainly Hadji, I don't think he was the worst player in the park. He was the one that was trying to make it go forward, but he was already on a booking, and I think there was other candidates there that should have been taken off before him. Certainly Kent, again, another anonymous performance, trying too much, cutting inside. He had one or two good plays. There was one play in the second half where he did actually try to take the ball on, and he just had all the acres of space, and he ran it into the touchline for a goal kick. Really poor from Kent. Needing dropped, I think, again. But Itten came on for Hadji in the 54th minute, and the bane of Motherwell, because he scored on the 72nd minute. I think that's his fourth goal against them in 5 appearances. But anyway, we had a corner. It was initially cleared, but picked up possession on the left hand side. A lovely cross into the back post to find the head of Itten, and he put it into the bottom left corner. All throughout the second half, we were by far in possession. It must have been the high 70s in terms of percentage possession. Motherwell, I think, had one chance in the second half. I think they had one corner all game. I think we had about 8 or 9 corners in the first half. And again, we were just trying to do the exact same thing, though. Morelos came off and Defoe came on the 82nd minute, and it's something I think Defoe should have been on a long time ago. I think he was about to come on before we scored. He was certainly warming up and he had got recalled, but he should have been on a long time ago, because right at the death he had a great chance when he picked out a cross from mid-air with a great control and he hit a great shot. That's something Defoe is deadly at, is picking up the loose balls, and it can be in the most impossible positions and angles, and he somehow has managed to get that. And it's disappointing to see him just sitting on the bench game in game out when we're needing something, a wee bit of a spark up front. He's certainly got that, and he should have been on long ago. I'm not saying play the whole 90 minutes, I'm not saying even start the game, but if we're struggling to break down a defence and we're struggling to score, he's the type of player that picks up the loose ball and he does something with it, and it was poor to see. It's not to say Morelos played bad, he never really had many chances, but he was dropping back and he was getting in amongst it. He was using his strength to draw fouls, draw defenders out, but there was nobody there on the follow-up, and there was a few occasions when Tavernier did put the cross in and it was a decent cross, but there was nobody following it up. But as I said, rounded out one each. It could have been worse. We could have been staring our first defeat. It's poor. It's been Motherwell again who've came close to beating us, obviously given the last game. The league's certainly not over. I think we all need to take maybe a reality check there. As much as we like to think it's maybe going to be too much of a gap, Celtic have got their own problems. We need to focus on our own form. And yeah, there's been occasion on the last 5 or 6 games where it's not been the best performances, and we've got the odd goal to get the result. We just need to focus on our game. Once again though, we're into a break because we don't play until next Saturday. We are at home to Ross County. That's Saturday the 23rd of January. That's at 3 o'clock. Celtic though, they have one of their games in hand on Wednesday. They play Livingston. I think Celtic might have their full strength first squad back. However, given the fact that they've been out and not been able to train, it'll be interesting to see what type of team they put out. From what I've heard, they were pretty piss poor yesterday. Livingston should have taken a barrel load off them. This is a game that we have no control over. This is one of Celtic's games in hand. We're all taking it as granted that they're going to get 9 out of 9 points in these 3 games in hand, but these are the type of games that we can extend our lead without actually really doing anything. So we need to wait and see how that goes. Dave and I will be recording our next podcast on Thursday night, so that should be out in the early hours of Friday. If not, it'll be Friday evening before the Ross County game. So as ever, if you want to check out more that we do, you can go to our website, which is ireadypodcast.wordpress.com, and there you can find all the episodes of podcast and post-match reactions. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.